And that's a kind of a lesson for other emerging markets, really, is you can't skip this. Regulation will come, and it's better to do it the right way for the reward at the end.
Thank you for doing this, sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right, let's start with your name and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Michael Parsons. I'm a sales director for Fireblocks based out of our Dubai office. I've been in B2B fintech sales for over 10 years now, working across Europe and the Middle East. I got into blockchain and digital assets in 2017, and I joined Fireblocks in 2020 to drive institutional sales across EMEA. And since then, I've been helping enterprises, fintechs, protocols enter the digital asset space securely.
Very cool. 2017, that was a nice run-up.
It was. I remember distinctly buying my first Bitcoin, not a full one. I bought in at £1,200 back then.
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah.
That's about when I bought, actually.
Yeah, I remember it distinctly. We were in the office and somebody was talking about this Bitcoin and had the graph up. And it was at that point I kind of got interested in it and bought a little bit. And I actually lost that Bitcoin.
I was about to ask you.
Yeah,
I was about to ask you, when did you sell?
No, I lost it. I lost the keys, and it's a good self-custody.
Really?
Yeah,
oh my goodness,
lesson there.
Wow. Let's talk a little bit about what you were doing before you were in crypto, right?
Okay.
Give me a little brief history that led you to what you are doing now.
Yeah, so I started in traditional finance and enterprise sales, working predominantly in high growth fintech startups, helping them scale. And from there, I moved into digital asset sales in 2017, like I mentioned. I moved to Berlin in Germany to work with a company called Bitbond that issued the first security token offering. And then, like I mentioned, moving into Fireblocks and helping them scale the institutional side of the business.
High growth fintech, where were you doing that? In the UK?
Yes, across London and Berlin were my main spots where I was working, and working for various fintech startups in London and in Berlin too.
So there was a buzzing fintech scene in London and Berlin?
Yeah, very much so in London for sure. There's a lot of talent. There's a lot of businesses there that are growing, and I was naturally attracted to that spot, and that's where I found those initial openings in the startups.
Sorry, this is a tangent, unrelated. I'm just interested in general. But so since Brexit, has that scene kind of dried up, or is it still kind of thriving?
I was very fortunate is that when the Brexit story was starting to happen, I managed to get out of the UK in time. So that transition from UK to Europe was very easy. It's hard to say now what the impact has had in the UK. I moved into Dubai and Berlin, so I was a little bit disconnected from that. But my friends who are still in the city say that it has had an impact. But hopefully we can get over that one day.
Yeah. But I can imagine it having an impact. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so let's fast forward to what you're doing now. So, can you kind of walk me through in a little more detail what you do? What's your daily work life look like?
Yeah, specifically about Fireblocks, or what we're doing
about Fireblocks. Yeah, what is, or just your day? What do you do during your day? And your responsibilities.
Yeah. So my responsibilities are to drive sales across our GCC region based out of Dubai. And a typical day might be anything from speaking to exchanges that have recently procured their licensing from Vara, for example, to more traditional finance players that are exploring digital assets and obviously having more of an educational discussion around there. And then perhaps a tokenization real-world assets, which we're seeing a big drive at the moment.
And you started doing this in 2020 to the present, basically?
Yeah, that's correct.
And I imagine you've seen kind of inquiries or these kinds of job tasks increase quite a lot in the past 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, when I started Fireblocks, we had a team of probably 30 people and 30 employees. and we were dealing with very unsophisticated, I would say, businesses that were growing, typically crypto native back then. And just to see the phenomenal growth in the market, Fireblocks now has over 750 employees, over 2,000 institutional clients, and we're working with some of the biggest names in the space, from the likes of Bank of New York, Revolut, Robinhood. So the business has obviously scaled as the market's matured alongside that.
Yeah. Ouch. Crypto native companies, unsophisticated. You heard it here. No, I'm joking, but I also agree. Crypto native companies can have unsophisticated features, especially things that can tie into the traditional finance.
Another observation that I saw is that back in the early days, there were two sort of streams of companies: ones that wanted to get regulated from day one, and others that were more, let's say, screw the system. We don't need regulation. This is crypto.
Cypherpunks.
Exactly. And as the market has matured, it's the ones that went and got their licenses, did everything the regulated way, that have won. Either they've been acquired by international exchanges in specific regions, or there's been other sort of M&A type of activity. And that's a kind of a lesson for other emerging markets, really, is you can't skip this. Regulation will come, and it's better to do it the right way for the reward at the end.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree 100%. It's a hard pill to swallow for a lot of these OG cypherpunks.
Yeah.
That kind of, I would say, fantastical libertarian dream doesn't meet well with reality.
No, it doesn't. And I don't know what your experience is of using crypto today, but it seems to be going a little bit too far to the right in terms of when we're using travel rule, for example. When I'm using my customers' apps and I'm trying to make transactions in and out of that, those transactions are now pending, either to be received or also on the outgoing. And it's becoming easier now to send, funds via fiat than it is crypto. So we've somehow gone the other way from that perspective, and I think it's going to push people more and more towards the self-custodial route.
You're 100% right. I have had this thought. I've never thought to articulate it, but I do some trading, right?
Yeah.
Spot and derivatives, and even like nominally decentralized protocols. I'll be in some country for a conference, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I gotta blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, you don't belong here. Well, you get off of the website, and I'm like, oh my God, right? Like, absolutely, that's wild. All right, let's talk a little bit about Fireblocks. So for people who are not exactly familiar with the company, I think most people in crypto have heard of it, but again, they might not know exactly what you guys do. Can you kind of give us an overview of what Fireblocks is? What are the main products that you offer?
Yeah, so Fireblocks is an infrastructure platform for digital assets. Essentially what that means, we're enabling every use case that you can imagine that interacts with digital assets. So whether that's a neobank like Revolut, or working with Bank of New York Mellon for their digital asset custody, we're serving every use case. And the core capabilities of the platform serve around secure custody using our MPC wallets, through to treasury management, tokenization, and payments. But at the core of what we offer is those NPC grade wallets. And those wallets can be used, like I say, to create anything from an exchange to a Web3 application or to a tokenization platform for real world assets.
So from the retail side,
yeah,
like a significant portion of our audience, Fireblocks would really kind of be behind the scenes for them.
Yeah, you're right. So we are not a retail-facing brand, but consumers will have used our technology indirectly through the products and services offered by our customers. So if we take Revolut, for example, if you've ever pulled up your Revolut account and tried to buy some crypto, then behind the scenes, Revolut are using Fireblocks infrastructure to make sure that those customer assets are safe and those transactions happen seamlessly.
Yeah. And I think for the audience who are not maybe familiar with MPC, this is multi-party computation. Can you just, from a very high level, give an overview of what this is and why it matters?
Yeah, so MPC stands for multi-party computation. And when we talk about custody in digital assets, what we're really talking about is the private key. Whoever holds the private key has the ability or ownership of those assets to move them from one wallet to another. When you have the private key in its singular form, then it creates a single point of failure. And what MPC does is it takes the private key and cuts it into shares or shards. And those shares are distributed between us and our clients. And the whole idea is that it eliminates that single point of failure.
Yeah. Right. So again, as you kind of talked about a little earlier, self-custody is important and maybe growing more important as the industry has kind of moved to one side. And MPC, if, in my estimation, allows more access to self-custody than previously before. Like, for example, I would never, before like MPC, I would never have my mom, for example, have her own self-custody wallet, right?
Yeah.
Because I just wouldn't do that. It's not gonna happen.
Why not?
Well, especially before, like I would be worried about her losing the keys or
Okay.
setting
Yeah.
it up or doing all this stuff. It would be hard. I might do something like a 2 or 3
Yeah.
wallet with myself or something like that.
Okay. Yeah.
But even still, much easier with some of the NPC products that are out nowadays. So really, I think NPC really helps kind of bring in more retail, but still have self custody.
Yeah, yeah. I guess there's risks in different ways you look at this, right? When you use a centralized provider that's holding the assets on your behalf, they're not your keys, they're not your coins. And we've seen what happened with FTX. Your counterparty risk is real and you can lose everything. Whereas with MPC and self custody, then you always have control of your assets and you're not taking that counterparty risk against another centralized entity.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So talking about this custody issue and the Fireblocks custody solutions, right? I guess you offer for institutions or other companies, you offer like a suite of
Yeah.
tools for this. How does this work exactly?
Yeah, I mean, we offer a one-stop shop really for
Okay.
building any digital assets. So depending on what you're looking to build, then we have the capabilities to meet that. So we've worked with banks like ANZ with their stablecoin project, Revolut for their treasury management. And it really is a broad range of use cases that we support. But at the core of what we offer is those wallets. Everything starts with a wallet on chain. And creating those wallets securely and at scale is kind of the backbone of what we do. And from there, then we can offer those treasury management capabilities, payments, and everything else is built on top.
Right. So FastDex is utilizing the Fireblocks custody solution. So
That's right.
let's hone in on one example in particular. Can you tell me exactly what are they using and how does this work?
Obviously, we can't go into details, but when FastDex are leveraging Fireblocks infrastructure, it means that they're securing their digital assets using Fireblocks custody. So it's using those MPC wallets to secure whether it's their customer funds or perhaps their token that they've issued or any of the other use cases that we've spoken about today. Alongside that, we also integrated their Bahamut layer 1 chain, which, yeah, we can perhaps talk about more.
Yeah, we can talk about it in a second. I just want to have a couple follow-up questions for that.
Yeah.
And so I guess the idea is for a customer like FastDex, this would be on their centralized services.
Yes.
This is like the centralized exchange. It's much better for them to outsource this to a project like Fireblocks, that's their entire focus, rather than kind of reinvent the wheel themselves, I imagine.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because sometimes we have customers that will come to Fireblocks and say, hey, we can build this, it's pretty simple. And then they come back 6 months later, tail between their legs, and like, guys, yeah, you're right, it's not as easy as you imagine.
Right.
So yeah, we are the market leader in providing this technology. And if you look at our client base, whether it's Bank of New York, whether it's Visa, the Robinhoods of this world, they have done extensive due diligence on Fireblocks, and in terms of the meeting security and compliance standards, then we were chosen as the primary vendor.
And it makes sense, I think, for companies like FastDex to then also utilize this so that they get that level, that grade, a high quality grade of security.
Yeah.
Without having to to mess around themselves and
Exactly.
get some guarantees, I suppose. Yeah.
Yeah, it really it takes all the technical lift off their back end team because they can get access to an API that enables them to spin up, hundreds of thousands of wallets at scale. Now, if you look at the complexity of that for one blockchain,
I was about to,
Fireblocks,
yeah, that's what I was
yeah,
about to say. Yeah.
Fireblocks supports 100 blockchains out of the box. So immediately you can start offering all of those different assets at the exchange, which then leads to greater revenues because you're then able to have a broader range of digital assets available at the exchange.
Yeah, I mean, I think that to me is the key point for this kind of thing is maybe if they were having to deal with just like Ethereum,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They were like, we build it ourselves. But then
Yeah.
if you start adding in just the kind of the whole breadth of chains out there, it's not.
Yeah. I mean,
Doesn't
there's
seem feasible.
complexity around ETH as well in terms of,
Yeah, that's yeah.
I don't know, we can go into detail about
Right,
that,
yeah.
about the wallet setups and the account management and how you have to sweep to omnibuses. It looks simple from the outside, but actually there's quite a bit of work behind the scenes.
Right. All right, so Fireblocks has integrated the Bahamut
Yeah.
L1. Speaking of chains,
Yes.
what does that mean?
So Bahamut is FastX's native layer one chain. It's EVM compliant, which allows developers to deploy smart contracts and build dApps for the ecosystem very easily. And by integrating into Fireblocks, then it's allowing the 2,000 plus financial institutions to custody or transfer any of the projects that are built on top of that chain, as well as offering those Bahamut projects the same security and operational rails trusted by tier one banks, enterprises, fintechs, and protocols.
So it's kind of a two-way street, I would say. Like it allows any other Fireblocks customer
Correct.
to easily have access to the L1.
Exactly.
And then it also allows all the Bahamut dApps and projects access to Fireblocks' solutions or
Yeah, so on the integration point, so just to give you a fact that 1 in 4 transactions on chain happens through Fireblocks wallets. So if you think from a distribution perspective, if it's not supported on Fireblocks, you're going to have issues with, getting access into the ecosystem. So as you can imagine, we have many L1 projects that are knocking on the door that want to be integrated, and that's quite a technical uplift for us because there's a lot of work that goes into that. You have to maintain all the forks, and we have over 100 plus blockchains that we're doing that for, and to add another one just adds even more technical. So we have to review each blockchain and make sure that it fits strategically with our vision as well, which is one of the reasons why we decided to integrate with the Bahamut chain.
I see. Does in the Fireblocks suite, is there like internal bridge mechanism there, or do you stay away from the bridging stuff?
In what way? So bridging from L1 to EVM?
Yeah, for example, if you wanted to bridge from Base to,
Yeah,
I don't know, Arbitrum.
so you can connect into any Web3 application, and you can do that through our fork of Wallet Connect. So just the same process that you use with, if you ever used Wallet Connect before, you just select your Fireblocks wallet instead, and then you benefit from all the security controls around that as well. We'll actually scan the address first to make sure that it is not been, corrupted or it's not been tainted in any way. And we have the policy management as well to control the funds moving out. So we don't have any native bridges built into Fireblocks, but we do provide access into DeFi and Web3.
Gotcha. All right, 2 more questions. How important are these strategic partnerships, right? Like you just said that you kind of review L1s, for example, that you want to integrate. How does this fit into like Fireblocks' like growth strategy?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, strategic partnerships are key to Fireblocks' growth. If we look at why Fireblocks was created, it's built to serve as the connective tissue in the digital asset ecosystem, and strategic partnerships like the one with Bahamut and Fast DEX are really key to drive adoption of our infrastructure into new innovation areas and emerging markets. So, yeah, it allows us to extend that infrastructure into those new areas.
Yeah, I can also imagine as you strategically choose your partnership, that kind of grows who wants to then be included next, right? Like, so it can be quite important.
Yeah, and there has to be a good fit as well. So, when you look at the Bermud chain, it's fast growing. There's an ecosystem built there, and it aligns very well with Firebox's mission to be able to scale digital asset operations. And because of that good fit and because of that alignment, then that partnership makes sense.
Gotcha. All right, last question. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about like any kind of insight into like the regulatory landscape. How does this affect Fastblocks' strategy for finding partners or growing the business or things of that nature?
Yeah, so regulation is becoming more and more of a priority when clients are choosing or evaluating a vendor. What we're seeing in the EU with MiCA and with the Trump administration in the US, clients are prioritizing, compliance and security. They're looking for a vendor or an infrastructure provider that has this out of the box. And I think this is where Firebox sits very well. We have rigorous security and compliance capabilities that can meet some of the most demanding regulators' requirements. And in terms of how it affects the onboarding, I think it's a kind of a two-sided coin, really. On the one hand, it's slowing onboarding in some markets because of the licensing situation. However, in other markets, it's creating a sense of urgency because clients are looking for that infrastructure to have in place before the rules take effect.
Interesting. So Fireblocks offers this kind of like, I would say almost like a decentralized flavor product. Even still, you have to adhere to, I guess, all these different jurisdictions somehow. Do you? Not really?
No, not really, because
Okay.
we sit in this position as a technology provider.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
we give you the tools to store your own or your customers' assets. So from that perspective, we don't hold any licenses. That burden is obviously passed on to our customers, and they obviously would take licenses depending on the jurisdiction they operate in and the business service that they're providing as well.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, sir. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you very much.
There we go. And we're done.